It's great to be here back on the territory of the Clay Tene. Back at another BC Natural Resource Forum. It's so great to be able to connect with old friends and meet so many new people. And really, I guess what I want to start off by saying is just a big thank you. On behalf of CLAC's members, we represent roughly 60,000 members across Canada, primarily in the construction sector. Many of our members have built the projects that we've discussed at this very forum over the years, including Site C, LNG Canada, Coastal GasLink. I want to congratulate Stephen Dean, who talked about Blackwater Gold the other day. We had over 1,000 members working on that project. And so on behalf of our members, I want to thank you all. I get a bit of a ringside seat on our team of reps, and we get to see the firsthand, the positive impact that these projects that we've all discussed, the positive impact that they have on their lives and then communities and their families. And so on behalf of all of them, I want to thank you very much for your commitment to growing this province and creating good paying jobs for our members and many others out there. So I do have the honor today to introduce our keynote speaker. And as I did a little bit of research and a little bit of digging, many of you, or some of you may know a colleague of mine who's been here with us before, Miranda O'Crane, who grew up in Williams Lake. And so I thought I'd better give Miranda a call. She couldn't be here today. Her father is unwell, but we wish her our best. But I gave her a call to see if she knew Chief Sellars. And so I was able to dig up a little bit of dirt on him from his old stomping grounds. Some of it I'm not going to share. No, I don't have much, but But Miranda thought it would be interesting to let you all know that Chief Sellars is an average hockey player, a hell of a powwow dancer, and could use some new moves on the OV dance floor in Williams Lake. So I don't know what that's all about. Take it for what it is. But no, in all honesty, though, and you can read his bio, but I did pick a couple of interesting comments in there. He's an award-winning author writing children's books. And I thought that's just, I've got 2 young kids, and I think, somebody to take time to put pen to paper and write some children's books, it's got to be some kind of special person. So I want to congratulate him on being an award-winning author. And also, I spent time as a wildland firefighter, and I think in this day and age, especially with what we're seeing down south, what a beautiful way to give back, to keep our communities safe and our forests safe. So I just wanted to pull out a couple of points from his bio. You can read the rest. But with that, I want to just invite him up here and hear what he's got to share with us today. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome me in joining Chief Willie Sellars, Chief of the Williams Lake First Nation.
Oh, Mom, I did it. I'm the keynote at the BC Natural Resource Forum. I'd like to thank you for the very warm opening and introduction, and for giving my children's books a plug. That really does mean a lot. We are a Canadian bestseller with Dip Knitting with Dad and Hockey with Dad. I have 5 kids of my own. And I always tell this funny story about, the question that I always get about how long I've been in politics for. And I've been in politics for 5 kids, is the joke. I told that joke one time to a lady at CNN when she was giving me an interview, and she didn't get the joke. So thank you for laughing. Willie Sellars, Ulu. Hello, my name is Chief Willie Sellars with the Williams Lake First Nation, which is a part of the Secwepemc Nation. If you're unfamiliar with where we are located 3 hours south of here in the interior of British Columbia. We are a part of the Secwepemc Nation. We stretch from the north as far as Williams Lake, west of the Fraser, to Quesnel Lake, all the way down into the Kootenays, and consist of 17 individual communities that make up the Secwepemc Nation. Historically, we were an economic powerhouse, a war powerhouse, and that rings true to this day in our successes that we're continuing to see on the economic front, and which is a big part of the conversation, the keynote that I'm going to be delivering today. I'd like to acknowledge traditional territory of the Clayton Dene. I've seen a lot of leaders here, a lot of very warm and welcoming remarks on a lot of the things that we're doing, and we are so thankful. One of the things that we hold close to our heart, I hold close to my heart, is the BC Natural Resource Forum. You know, being in this room and being amongst everybody here, I mean, this is what's special about BC, is that it does feel like family being in this room. There are a lot of people that I know in the room. There are a lot of people that we've worked with in this room, and you know, that is why, in my opinion, British Columbia is the best province of Canada. It is one of the best provinces and best places to live in this entire world. I especially have a warm place in my heart for the BC Natural Resource Forum because one of the best keynotes I've ever seen was in this room. And it was 2020. I was a young chief at the time. I was elected in 2018, currently in my second term, but Chief Councillor Chris Smith was on the stage. And she delivered this amazing keynote, and I remember getting home and sending the link to my entire council because of how proud and how honored it was to be in the presence of such a powerful speech. And one of the things that resonated with me the most in her speech is the acknowledgement that she had for her team. So I wanted to make sure to reiterate that in mine, is that I am never the smartest person in the room. I have an amazing team. The Williams Lake First Nation has an amazing team. We have an awesome and very progressive council, and we have an amazing community. And I just wanted to point out a couple of our team members in the room, Mr. Kirk Dressler, Ms. Courtney Smith, of course, Carol Rodriguez. If you have any questions about the Williams Lake First Nation, do not come to me. If Kirk and Courtney and Carol could please raise their hand to my left. That is who you go to talk to and follow up on any potential opportunities with the Williams Lake First Nation. We're blessed. And to kind of set the tone for my keynote, I wanted to cue up a video that we did a couple of years ago, a handful of years ago. The years kind of blend together nowadays. It is a Who We Are video. So if we could cue that up on the screen and the loudspeakers, please.
Our culture, our traditions are living traditions over hundreds and thousands of years.
We're original people in this territory. Archaeology says about 10,000 years plus. There are people who believe that everything had a spirit, even the mountains, the rocks. It's a spiritual connection, that's what we say.
We're part of this earth in every way. I feel as deeply rooted to this place like the Douglas fir trees. Their roots are as deep as they are tall. That's how I feel to this land.
We are Sahuatm from the Tlachalcore Balchichin. We are from the Williams Lake First Nation. We have to look after one another. That gives me a lot of hope and pride when I see that.
We are culturally centered, but we're also future focused. We want to be able to have more fluent language speakers in our community, more educational success stories, understanding the economics, but it's also holding up our culture and our tradition.
We as Sahuatm people, we still practice the traditional ways of our ancestors. We're also living in the contemporary. We can walk in both worlds.
It is a film that we put together to give an idea on who we are. An inspirational video that was done by a band member. His name's Sean Stiller. He's a director that lives in Toronto that has come to our community and filmed all these amazing things for us. We take great pride of where we come from and who we are and what we represent. and that video kind of sums it up. You hear our elders speaking throughout the video. I'm actually the only one that narrates in that video that isn't an elder, and our elders said we need more of our elders in the video. So it's always good to be put in check and to be humbled by your membership. And we always say we love to have the conversation no matter what. So I'm going to start the keynote today. I wanted a show of hands. We've just completed and we're on this really amazing run with the sugarcane documentary. Raise of hands, who's seen the sugarcane documentary? Okay, who's heard of the sugarcane documentary? All right, so it's on Disney+. If you're from the United States, it's also on Hulu. We were on this really wild journey over the last 5 years to film this thing. They actually filmed in our community for over 3 years. It was about a year of post-production. It's been on a wild festival, theater, Disney tour that started when we premiered at Sundance. So I've been able to do some pretty cool things and some pretty amazing things because of this documentary. But one of the things that we wanted to mention was that it is about the history and legacy of residential schools in this country and the Indian boarding schools in the United States. It tells stories throughout the film about our community and our region, but one of the things that we can relate to and that you could tell the story about when you watch it is those stories happen in every single one of the indigenous communities in this country and into the United States. And that's something that's emotional, that's triggering, that's tough to talk about. But the neat thing is we're having those conversations now. The crazy thing is the amount of times that I've been approached by the non-Indigenous population of this world over the last year since the film started to come out and started to be seen I had no idea. And that's something that we need to change. We need to have a better understanding of our Indigenous communities and the impacts they've had on them and the history and legacy of residential schools in this country so that we can all heal together. And we truly do believe that. Now, I wear this really awesome Canucks jersey today. I look sharp. I have my collared shirt on. I am a massive fan of the Vancouver Canucks, obviously. I heard that there were some Oiler fans in the crowd. Yes, we will pray for you. We do know that you are close to Edmonton in Prince George, and we understand, I guess it's as long as it's a Canadian team, it is what it is. And we will be cheering for Connor McDavid, of course, at the Four Nations Cup and at the Olympics next year when he plays for Team Canada. But while he isn't, we do not cheer for him. I wanted to wear the hockey jersey because, we've had a number of conversations with survivors. And, the stories that we hear from, especially the male survivors from residential schools. I talked to Chief Ed John earlier this week, and he commended the Williams Lake First Nation on this journey that we've been on with sugarcane and how we are telling these stories on an international scale. And he immediately went into his experiences at the school and the hockey rink and learning how to play hockey. The only stories my dad ever talks about are learning how to play hockey and how it was such a massive outlet for his time at the St. Joseph's Mission Residential School. This is why hockey is such a big part of Indigenous communities across this country, but it is something that the non-Indigenous population of this country can relate to because it is ingrained in every single Canadian, the sport of hockey. And, it's something that we can relate to and hold each other up with because of how important it is to our way of life, especially when Canada wins. And, I wear the Canucks jersey not just because I'm a super fan and I love the sport, but I had this really neat opportunity last year to speak to the dressing room of the Vancouver Canucks not the very first, but at the National Day of Truth and Reconciliation game that they had. And I spoke to 18,000 plus at the puck drop. I danced grass at center ice at the period break. But that morning, speaking to the Vancouver Canucks was the most nervous I've ever been in my entire life for a speaking engagement. Now, these are individuals that we pray for in our sweat lodge. These are real world heroes to our communities. You know, we are happier when even our Edmonton Oilers and the teams that we hold close to our hearts win. You know, it is a happiness that it's flooded into our emotions when our hockey teams win. And we just want to, you know, put it out there that it is a common theme that we could come together on. And that's so true across this country. Now, the Truth and Reconciliation Commission started in 2008. And you know, just giving a bit of background on the residential schools before I get into some of the other topics of my conversation today, but it started in 2008. There was Truth and Reconciliation conferences that were happening across this country as a part of this movement. There was monetary payment to survivors that happened. And I have this, you know, I've had this question numerous times to me through the years about when reconciliation is going to be achieved. You know, we have paid the First Nations the money that they deserve. You know, there is a price tag attached to this. And it's scary that, you know, individuals think that there can be, you know, a healing component to reconciliation with just money. I mean, there's no way. It definitely helps for sure. It's one part of the conversation. Reconciliation isn't going to be achieved, you know, they say generations from now. And that's something that we're trying to curb with this economic reconciliation discussion and what we're doing in our communities to help in the conversation. With stories like sugarcane, we are telling the truth. And with the power of truth comes forgiveness. Now back to the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and the conferences that were happening in this country. There was a big one in Vancouver. I remember we brought down 25 plus elders on a bus, and I was a young counselor at the time, and I rode the bus and I heard the stories and I shared the laughs, and I got to hang out with like a big chunk of the elders population at WLFN. And every day they had these sharing circles. It was a big room like this. There was hundreds of people in the room. And you could sign up as a survivor and you could tell your story. There'd be 8 to 10 survivors per session. And it was all about, you know, healing. And I remember the late Rick Gilbert, who's in the documentary Sugarcane, who is quoted in our Who We Are video, or one of the narrators in our Who We Are video. And he told the most horrific and gruesome stories I've ever heard in my entire life. And that was every single day with every single survivor that shared their story. And the trauma, the impacts to their way of life were something that I had to talk to a therapist about. And I was really upset. And I remember, you know, it impacted me in a way that I can't explain. And I didn't even live through that trauma. And that's scary to think about. But I remember asking him on the way home, because he's such a devout Catholic, you know, how do you go to church every Sunday after those stories that you just told? It was an emotional conversation to have. And he said that you need to be able to forgive. You know, not everybody was like that. And you need to be able to forgive. And it put me in a headspace where, you know, I was able to forgive my dad. And he wasn't around when I was younger. And to this day, my dad is one of my best friends. And that is what healing is about. And having the conversation and telling the truth and sharing those stories is a big part of what Sugarcane is, and why I would love it if all of you watched it on Disney+. We had all these really crazy things happen while they're in our community filming. The announcement of the 215, of course, the investigative works and the announcements that we had in those investigative works, the acquiring of the St. Joseph's Mission residential site, which we now own and we're going to commemorate and memorialize in the near future. The Prime Minister of our country came to our community, and love him or hate him, the leader of our country came to our community. And I'm just going to say, for all of those Trudeau haters out there, he came to the res. You know, we will hold him up, but we would also welcome Pierre Polivier, we'd welcome Jagmeet Singh into our community with open arms. There's something about the leader of the country coming into your community that really fires people up, both positively and negatively, and starts that conversation, bigger, broader audience than we could ever have expected. We're thankful for that. When I was in Ottawa in December with our council and with our team, we invited Pierre to come to our community. And hopefully he takes us up on that offer one day, if he is the Prime Minister, like it looks like it's going to be in the near future. And we will welcome him, and we will celebrate him. And maybe I won't get hundreds and hundreds of hate comments when I share the picture with him instead of Prime Minister Trudeau. Because that is what happened. We have these stories that we shared, and like I said, it's every single Indigenous community in this country has those stories. The documentary is shortlisted for an Oscar. That announcement comes out next Thursday, and that's very exciting for us. It's very exciting for Indian country. It's exciting for the healing and just how we come together as Indigenous and non-Indigenous. What we really wanted to talk about today, and I'm going to go over time. I know I only have 6 minutes left, but our WLFN successes. We have had some massive successes in the history of our community. We are this economic powerhouse, as mentioned earlier. We are making headlines and we are doing all of these amazing things, and it's leading to a lot of healing in our community. I think about what kickstarted our success at WLFN. It was a Highway 97 four-laning project through IR1. It was a $55 million project, and I remember we negotiated with the Ministry of Transportation. I was a young special project coordinator at the time, working under the great Mr. Kirk Dressler and Byron Louie and Aaron Higginbottom, and I remember they needed 49 acres of reserve land to finish that highway, and here's our big break, is what we were thinking. Here's our big opportunity to leave a legacy behind that we're going to be proud of. And I remember sitting in that negotiation room, and the value of the land was, I think it was around $750,000, $900,000, whatever it was. And we're saying, no way, there is no way. And they said, well, what's it worth, Willie? And I said, $10 million. And it was like that moment from Austin Powers when Dr. Evil, we were arguably laughed out of the room, but the conversation quickly transitioned to, well, let's get creative on how we get there. So we had a $2 million land envelope, which we purchased a 319-acre ranch. We now run 50 cow-calf pairs, has 7 rental properties. We had $2 million in wages to band members, legacy stuff, career stuff that some of those members still do to this day. We had a contribution to our on reserve infrastructure project, commercial residential development and a frontage road. We had direct award opportunities, and we got to that number because we were creative and we had a great conversation and negotiation with the province, which was a Liberal government at the time. And we will always hold them up on just how important it is for the government in power to work collaboratively with the First Nations. We had a specific claim victory. It was a 30-year victory, 30-year battle, that went to the Supreme Court of Canada, and we were awarded $135 million for the wrongful displacement of the Williams Lake First Nation from the city of Williams Lake. I see Mayor Surinder Paul Rather here. He is my brother. Everyone give the mayor a round of applause. Creating partnerships, and although that was righting a historical wrong, we have a great relationship with the city of Williams Lake to this day. And what we did with those monies, we locked them up into a community trust. We have an annual interest payment that comes to WLFN. We have an annual per capita payout that goes to our members. We've established a miners trust, and we're really setting people up for the future. When my son turns 18, my oldest son, I also have an 8-month-old, so that's quite the swing. He's going to get a big check that's going to help him in life. When my 8-month-old turns 18, he's going to get a bigger check, which is going to really set him up in preparing these kids for life when they become an adult. The opportunity that I didn't have when I was younger and that we had to really work for. What we're doing is we're investing in our youth and investing in our community, and that is something that we hold up is legacy stuff that we want to continue to also celebrate. We've been able to build relationships with, of course, the city, like I said, the provincial government, the federal government. We have numerous partnerships throughout the region. And we have partnerships with a lot of the sponsors that are here today because we know how important it is to create those relationships and partnerships so that we can make sure that we have a seat at the table when those conversations are happening about impacts in the traditional territory. We have impact benefit agreements with all the major mines in our region. So that's Caribou Gold, Osisko, that's Mount Poly, Imperial, that is Gibraltar, Taseko. We're not shy to say we are a resource-based economy in Williams Lake. We are mining, we are forestry, we are ranching, we are pipelines. Now, we have to make sure that we have a seat at the table. We have to make sure that we are a part of those works that are going on, because historically we weren't. Historically, the benefits didn't flow through the First Nations, and because of that, because of the relationships that we didn't have, our communities lived in poverty. And that's the conversation about leveling the playing field and what the true heart of economic reconciliation and, of course, reconciliation is in our territories. We're trying to diversify our economy, whether it's with forestry or whether it's with cannabis. We, Regional Chief Terry Chiji came up to me earlier and he was asking me about marijuana. And, we have a cultivation facility. We grow over 600 kilos of cannabis per year. We have, of course, a Health Canada approved license. We are in all the provincial stores. We have 4 retail stores throughout the province. We gross over $6 million with our retail chains. That's Unity Cannabis, and the cultivation side is Sugarcane Cannabis. And we are, and I don't know, somebody could correct me if I'm wrong, the biggest drug dealers in the Caribou-Chilcotin. Legal drug dealers in the Caribou-Chilcotin. But the coolest side of that conversation is that in our cannabis initiatives, we have over 50 full-time jobs. Individuals that haven't been able to stick, let's say, at the mines or with forestry or in the other sectors in the region are thriving in our cannabis initiatives. And that's something that we take great pride in. That's collaborating with the provincial and federal government on a number of different fronts and funding pools and making sure that we could deliver those, because it is a tricky industry to be in. It wasn't the gold rush and isn't the gold rush that everybody expected it to be, but it is, a lucrative business to get into. Diversifying is what we need to do and is what we're focusing on. And of course, we are able to do these things because of the amazing staff that we have and the amazing people that have worked for us in the past. I talked about our specific claim victory. I'm not sure if he's here. Aaron Manella was a big part of us getting that trust developed and across the goal line. He works for Enbridge now, which we support and we love. But he was an instrumental piece of us getting that trust established, and arguably is one of the most important pieces of our healing journey at WLFN. So I wanted to make sure to give him a shout out. He's a guy that I really know and love, and are thankful that he came to our community for those years to help us get that across the goal line. And again, just wanted to mention Williams Lake. It's an affordable place to live. It has access to every biogeoclimatic zone within an hour. We are always hiring at the Williams Lake First Nation. We have a couple of job postings out right now for the Director of Culture and Recreation and also the Director of Health. So if you'd like to, and the Director of Natural Resources, Mr. Aaron Higginbottom, moved on to his home community. So if you want a job, Kirk, Courtney, Carol, please talk to them after my keynote today, and we'd love to bring more capacity on. We're very proud of the team that we have. We have over 100 staff at WLFN, doesn't include any of our corps or side businesses. Now, aside from all of the success that we have at WLFN, we are still painted in some circles with the brush of being a sellout. And this is a tough one for me. And it's what we deal with at the internal politics in all of our communities, whether they're Indigenous or non-Indigenous, because we work with industry, because we have agreements, because we are proactive in making sure that we have that seat at the table and we are being better environmental stewards of our traditional territories. We get called sellouts. And just think about that for a minute. So here we are preparing our community for the future, taking care of our elders, taking care of our youth, holding up, what this relationship building exercise should look like, and we're getting called down in some circles. And to those people, I would always say, and we will always say, that we'd love to have a conversation. We'd love to have a conversation, talk about some of the issues that you have so that we can find a balance amongst ourselves, because that's really what it's all about. It's about finding the balance in how we approach industry in our traditional territories. And I think, you know, we approach these things with a level head. You know, we are reasonable at WLFN, and I'd like to hope that the provincial government can attest to that, the federal government can attest to that, because what we talk about at WLFN, we do. And all you have to do is come into our territory to realize that and have a conversation with me and my council, and of course, our team. What has this success allowed us to do over the last 5 years, over the last 10 years, over the last 20 years? I'm super fortunate. You know, I inherited a game plan. I've inherited some really amazing legacies from former chiefs like Anne Louis, Nancy Sandy, Willie Alphonse Jr., the late Rick Gilbert. And I think, you know, I could go down the list of former chiefs that I hold up as mentors in my life and in my leadership position. You know, I want to make sure, I'm not sure if I mentioned Anne Louis, but she has been a big part of my growth as a leader, and she currently sits on council with me, and you know, a big part of our success is being able to be properly mentored, and that would be my advice to any Indigenous community or somebody wanting to run for council. Make sure that, you know, in your transition plan out, you're taking the time to mentor that next young leader that's coming up, because it really does mean a lot. You know, we fund 100% of our post-secondary applications in trades training. We're arguably one of the biggest funders and have the biggest checks to our members that are thriving to be educated. We know how much healing comes with education. We fully fund our recreation department. We have a fully funded healthcare benefit plan. If you don't have a benefit plan with your current employer, we provide one at WLFN, and that's all. Shamelessly, another plug for WLFN. We're investing in our youth and our community. You know, our culture, our health and wellness are a big part of the conversations that we continue to have on a daily basis. We want to continue to build these teams. And because of our specific claim, because of our revenue streams that we're creating and have created, we could really do whatever we want. And that's an exciting time to be WLFN. It's an exciting time to be Indigenous. You come through WLFN traditional territory in the next year, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, it's going to be drastically changed because of how much we're going to be investing into our community core of Sugarcane IR1, how much we're going to be investing into our commercial development lands along Highway 97, how we're going to be investing into our residential development project on, of course, our golf course. And that's exciting. That's really, again, touching back to legacy stuff. And I just wanted to close, you know, we are proud Indigenous people. We are proud Secwepemc people. We are proud Tekachoch people. But we are also proud Canadians. And that's what healing is, and that's what forgiveness is. So with that, I know we want to do a bit of a Q&A, and I have a drum song I'd like to close with in a good way, but I'd like to invite Sabrina up and wish you Omagaselt and all my relations. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to speak to you in this keynote.
Great. Well, I think we can all agree that was phenomenal. While Chief Sellars settles into the hot seat, I will take the moment to introduce myself. My name is Sabrina Spencer. I'm a lawyer at Fasken Martineau Dumoulin in Vancouver. And I also want to take this opportunity to thank our host, the Lac Lake Tene, for welcoming us onto their territory, not only this week, but every January. This is my 5th Natural Resource Forum, and I have to say that it's starting to feel a little bit like coming home when I land in Prince George. And I think a huge part of that is the graciousness and welcoming of our hosts. So thank you very much. Chief Sellars. All right, I'm going to resist the urge to get into the hockey debate. But we have agreed that we are both, you know, against Calgary, so I think we found some common ground. I actually want to spend a few minutes talking about sugarcane, because you mentioned some of the critical success that this film has had, shortlisted for an Academy Award. You won an award at Sundance. You have glowing reviews in major papers all over the world. What was your vision for this film? Knowing you, we've had a few conversations now. Knowing you as I know you, I'm guessing that you didn't embark on this project for the critical acclaim and all the red carpets. So what was your vision for this film?
Yeah, the interesting thing about the red carpet piece, and I've had this conversation with our CAO numerous times, is that I do not have the wardrobe to be on the red carpet on a daily, annual basis. So I try and recycle as many outfits as I can. She really gives me a hard time about this, which, yes, I know I need to get a better wardrobe. I'm wearing my Vancouver Canucks jersey at the BC Natural Resource Forum keynote, but I'm very proud. No, all jokes aside, I think we embarked on this journey of documenting the investigation at the St. Joseph's Mission because of a comment that Councillor Chris Wycott mentioned at the council table. He wanted to document the work that was going on over there so that we could show our membership and how timing is, and we've always been blessed with really insane timing in this world. We had a director reach out from LA, and she wanted to document this research. We also had another individual, Julian Brave Noisecat, who is a band member from Jeshkan, which is another Secwepemc community, join Emily, who is the director, cinematographer, one of the cinematographers with the film. And immediately we started down this path of documenting those works that were going on over there. And originally what we thought was something that we could document for the membership and something that we thought could be a part of the curriculum in every single school in this country. That was the goal, and that was the vision. And we're going to get there. We truly do believe that. But it could be so much bigger than that. And that's what this journey has shown us as we win these awards and we get shortlisted for things like the Oscars, is that people want to hear that story. And people haven't heard that story. A story that we know, and we've grown up with all of our lives as Indigenous people. People don't know. And that's why I would encourage everyone to watch it and have the conversation. I have this conversation with my kids, for example, because they're getting questions about it all the time. They're in the film, and they take great pride in being on Disney Plus, and and are stoked about those things. But then it also triggers, the impacts that those had, the intergenerational trauma in my life and in their lives that they're experiencing, and starting to understand on a deeper level. So, we had no idea that the film was going to go as far as it has, but we're truly thankful that it has.
And on that note, I would just let everyone here know that actually sugarcanefilm.com, you can go and you can host your own screening of the film. So I think to the message around this is meant to spark conversation and be part of the truth-telling and the healing process, I would encourage people in this room to look at that as an opportunity as well. Staying with the art scene a bit, because in your introduction we heard you are also an award-winning children's book author. What role do you think the arts and these types of endeavors really have in promoting healing and sharing the story? And what words of advice would you have for other communities or individuals who want to take that path?
It's a big one. A big part of our healing as a community at WLFN is having a better understanding of who we are and where we come from and what we're known for. An artisan in our communities, they're getting held up in so many different ways nowadays. You look at the totem pole that was unveiled earlier today and the celebration of the individual that created it. We look at the ribbon skirts that are coming back and the beadwork and how the artisans are creating this economy to provide for their families. It's about creating an economy and providing for their families, but it's also about teaching the future generations and holding up what those ancestors fought so hard for. And that's what we need to bring back. It's not only this reconciliation discussion, some people say it's a buzzword, and in some circles it is. Economic reconciliation, buzzword, and in some circles it is. But when I talk about the education around those conversations, it's not about just us being a part of the education of the non-Indigenous population of the country, but it's also about us being a part of the education of our own communities. We need to get back to understanding and celebrating and take great pride in who we are and where we come from and what we are known for. And that's what we're seeing with these conversations continuing to happen. We're seeing this resurgence and this pride. And I wore a buckskin jacket at the Cinema Eye Awards. It was my late grandpa's. And one of the funny comments that I got about it was, wow, great jacket. Thomas Chalamet was wearing one of those last week. Because I was thinking, is this jacket a little bit too much? But it was right on par. Not only are the indigenous peoples of this world celebrating who they are, but the non-indigenous population is also stepping up and wanting to be a part of that conversation.
Amazing. So as we heard in your keynote, I also needed to give you a bit of a breather because there's been a lot going on at Williams Lake First Nation. When you look forward, so in 5 years, if we're back on this stage having a similar conversation, hopefully you're in a different jersey, what will have happened at the nation in those 5 years? What are the plans?
We have a number of different things on the go right now at WLFN. We're working on the concept and vision of the downtown development of Sugarcane IR1. We're going to have a new gym. We're going to have a new school. We're going to have a new culture, health, and wellness building. We're going to have more homes. We're going to be investing a lot of money over the next 5 years, over the next 10 years, over the next 20 years in not only our community, but the surrounding area. And this is what really sparks the conversation of working together with the local municipality, like Mayor Surinder Paul Rather, like the Cariboo Regional District, and of course the provincial and federal government, is that all of that money that we're bringing into the region is money that's staying in the region. Is benefiting not only the Williams Lake First Nation, but it's also benefiting everybody that stays within our traditional territory. And that's how, honestly, we've been able to get the support that we have gotten over the last 5 years, over the last 10 years. People are starting to understand, and that's a big part of what reconciliation is collaborating and working together. Because at the end of the day, we all have to live in these territories, and of course we want to celebrate the beauty of our territories, like the city of Williams Lake, which is an amazing place to live in.
Fabulous. Well, I see red lights going off a few places. There's so many good questions on the Huva. I think we might just have to do this again next year. But thank you so much for those words, and I am going to turn it over to you now to share your drum song with us.
Yeah, I wanted to close in a good way. Some of the conversation that we had is heavy and it's triggering. I am going to sing, it's a Sweat Lodge song. It's a song that I used to sing with my late Uncle Alphonse in our sweat. It's a song that we hold up to this day, and it's a Secwepemc song, and it's one of my favorites. So if you could all please rise with me.
Oh, Yes, you can keep clapping. Just before I ask a couple of folks to offer a special thank you presentation, I just want to acknowledge that we have with us the Minister of Mining and Critical Minerals, the Honorable Jagrep Brar is with us. Minister, thank you for joining us. Basketball player, yeah, not hard to tell. All right, it's a pleasure now to call on the Chief of the Tla'stan Nation, Edward John, and Regional Chief Terry Teegee to come and do a special thank you to Chief Sellars.
Deneza, Tsekuza, Skiza. First of all, I want to acknowledge the territory of the Lheidli T'enneh. My name is Terry Teegee, Regional Chief of the British Columbia Assembly of First Nations, and the smartest guy in the room. I'm kidding. That's a little bit of fake news, but you can verify that on Meta. Anyways, speaking of truth, you know, we can't have reconciliation without truth, and certainly the story that Chief Willie Sellars shared with you and the documentary Sugarcane is a very important story. And certainly, as behalf of BCFN and all our First Nations in the best place on earth in the province of BC, we wish you luck. You not only be shortlisted at the Academy Awards, but also win the award. So certainly, we wish you very, very well, Chief Sellars. And the other truth was that I said, "Hey, Willie, you have any doobies?" That's what I said. I'm kidding, but anyways, just wishing you luck. Anyways, Mussy, congratulations, and thank you for sharing that story, Grand Chief.
Mussy, Edechu Daketh Ganada Tisnil, Johnny Nat Neke Sitli with Dene, Tabeni Zio, the Mussy, but Zatni Bakeo Natzatil, Gay Saganda Ninja, Kayowagan Lien, Encha, Mustabesho, Mussy, Zatni, no Nisha. Dana nita ne di shanai dil to be disti and to e te hunosin. I wanted to share with you some of the language, our language, the Dakat language, the carrier language from this area to the south of us are our relatives, the Shawapim, and the many communities that speak many different languages in this province. This little pin over here is a symbol of our efforts in revitalizing our languages. I really appreciate the comments, Kukbi, about your family and about the efforts to turn the community around, your community in particular, telling the stories. And there were 17 Indian residential schools in British Columbia. The Mission Residential School in Williams Lake was one of those, just west of here, 90 minutes from here, Jack Indian Residential School, where I went for many years, including my parents who went there. We're going through the similar process that they're going through and have gone through. And we have the same hope and aspirations and visions for our future as he explained. So articulately, and I really want from the bottom of my heart to say thank you for that. It's an amazing story, and we should put that in our hearts. I have a small gift for Willie. A few years back, there was an announcement in Kamloops where they had said and we're doing that same work, the ground penetrating radar at Jack, as they've been doing here in Williams Lake. They announced that there were some 215 grave sites that were found. And I was watching the news, and it broke my heart. And it was the very first time in this country and in this province that we saw the indifference of Canadians starting to melt. The attitude towards our people was dissipating little by little. It was an amazing moment because it was about those kids in those grave sites that I think changed the dynamics. Before that, we had the National Truth and Reconciliation Commission. went traveled throughout the country, even here. It made no difference. We held a 1 week inquiry in the 1980s at the Skedam Williams Lake at Alkali Lake. We prepared a report, released it, no difference. Billy Blackwater and 27 men and women from the Port Alberni went to the Supreme Court of Canada in the Blackwater case. A very favorable decision, significant apology by the Prime Minister then, Harper, compensation to residential school survivors. And it didn't seem to make any difference to the public eye until this 215 was announced. So today I want to give a small gift in commemoration of the work that our Cookbee, our chief, is doing here to honor him. We have many, in Dakit, I thank our relatives from Fleetley. We're all very connected. I have a lot of family relations in this First Nations community, and I acknowledge them and their perseverance here and their leadership who stood up here and welcomed all of us here. It was a different day once upon a time when I was young. It was a difficult time. And I also thank our mayor over here, Simon Wu. We all met him at Prince George College. So the students from the Williams Lake Indian Residential School, when they were done grade 8, they came to the Catholic High School here, Prince George College, as did we from the Lejac Indian Residential School. We travel once a year from Lejac to Williams Lake to the school down there, and we'd play hockey and we'd beat them every time. And that's what we bragged about. But you know, when we came here, we joined the two teams and we played the city teams here, like they had a junior team and young guys like Darcy Rhoda, who ended up playing the NHL. He couldn't keep up with us. We skated circles around him. Anyways, there's a little bit of braggadocio, so you can disregard that. But what happened is that in this school here, we got together and started talking about just friends. The next thing, we're talking about our experiences in the residential schools, and it went a little deeper and went deeper, and we think, you too? Yeah, you too, yeah. And we thought we should call for an inquiry where kids, somebody needs to tell this story, and that's how this whole thing is evolving. Now we're dealing with the intergenerational traumas of that, and that's why we're here. There are solutions here that can help where we are going. Because you're developing lands, you're developing resources in our territories, and that you've been doing it, many of you, unchecked. The courts have come down in our favor widely, and now we're in a place of strength, and we can see what this community has done. An amazing job that you and your council have done. I buy gas at the station. I don't smoke anything, so I don't buy anything else. So this piece,
Back here, Chief.
So it's the number here there's a number here, 215. It's about those 215 sites that they announced. And this is an elegy. It's called Thunder Spirit's Children, an elegy. And this is a painting that was done by my son, Damien John. And it's about the grave sites and the release through to the next world, and wanted to present that to this wonderful young leader from the Shuwakan community, but who's so representative of all of our young leaders who are emerging now, strong, well-educated, articulate, and we're on the move. So the kind of work and the words that he presents is an inspiration to me, an inspiration to our young people, inspiration to our council members. I have some of the Tla'atin Nation council members who are here with me today, and there are many other chiefs from different parts of the province, the Karisakani chiefs, other chiefs from different parts of the province. Really want to acknowledge them and thank them. So, Willie, this is yours for all the amazing work that you do.
I'll go on the other side. Yeah. Over in the middle, Chief Sellars and take Terry. And while we're getting a few photos, I'm going to ask our one of our luncheon sponsors, Haley Archer, Sustainable Development Coordinator, Community Relations Liaison with OSISCO, to come up and thank Chief Sellars for that fantastic presentation. And then we'll have a few more photos there. So, Haley. Yeah, you can clap for her.
Well, I haven't said anything yet.
There we go.
I'm delighted to be here to represent the Caribou Gold Project this afternoon, beginning by thanking the Lheidli T'enneh for the warm welcome to everyone who's here as we've gathered this week for the BC Natural Resources Forum. And a big thank you as well to C3 Alliance and their planning committee for their hard work in preparing and executing this wonderful event once again this year. OSISCO Development and the Caribou Gold Project have been sponsors and participants of the BC Natural Resources Forum for several years now. We are proud to be a part of an event that brings together federal, provincial, and local government leaders with Indigenous leaders and representatives from various resource sectors. This forum, appropriately situated in the north central of British Columbia, fosters meaningful discussions on opportunities and innovative solutions and celebrates shared successes. We like to consider ourselves an example of that as well, as the Caribou Gold Project is the first mining project to have gone through successfully completing the new EA process, and recently was granted both our Mines Act and Environmental Management Act permits, the last of which just came in December. Achieving these monumental milestones is a culmination over more than 5 years of hard work by our employees, consultants, and our principal Indigenous partners, Latako Dene Nation, Hatsuth First Nation, and of course, Williams Lake First Nation. It's been a privilege to work on the Caribou Gold Project with Williams Lake First Nation's natural resource team, and to get to know Chief Sellars, who's a very busy man, and I pride myself on having actually sat in a couple of meetings he was able to attend. And I genuinely look forward to continuing our partnership throughout the life of this project. And I would like to say that I think your keynote is going to be on my list of incredibly powerful sessions. And I feel like I can speak for everyone here today that we hope to see you back here again, giving another keynote soon. And the Caribou Gold Project is very much looking forward to the small part that we can play in the successes that you continue to have with Williams Lake First Nations. So if everyone could join me with a round of applause.